There we go.
Oh,
Okay,
there we
good.
go.
Good,
We're
good.
live.
You're good to go?
Have fun. All right. I think we might be live. Here we go. There we are. Wonderful. Hey, everybody. I just want to say happy Sunday. I'm here with Sarah Bradshaw from Wise Woman Seeds.
Hi.
And we have a really special episode for you. Today, we're going to talk about the Wise Woman's Way. And normally we would be outside in the garden, but we legit just got rained out. So apologies for being a couple of minutes late. We had to move all of the stuff, but we're here with you now. And I just wanted to start, and can I start rolling a joint?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll us a joint. If you guys want to toke with us, please do.
Yep. And
I just want to say hey to everybody. So hey Raymond, hey David, Browse, Juxie, Chef Life 420, DT. Want to say hey to R and Susie. Hey, so great to see you. Dabby J, Matthew Fernandez, so great to chat with you too. Gary, who else we got here? We've got OG Brick 420. We got John Maddox. Hey, so great to connect with all of you. If I'm missing anybody, I apologize, but it's so great to have you all here. We're smoking some of my homegrown. This is my Super Silver Haze.
Lovely medicine.
Lovely
so medicine.
Good. It's one of my all-time favorites. If you guys want to share what you're smoking or toking on, we'd love to see. Yeah, good evening. Yeah, so this one, I want to say we cropped this one out in May.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was our first batch of our indoor grow. Super yum. So I'm excited to roll for us. And I know we're missing the garden tour right now, but
yeah, we had this wonderful garden tour planned.
So you want to look up there.
It was going to be fabulous. We were going to show you all of the things that were growing in and around the glorious cannabis plants and the sunflowers nodding in the breeze. But then it started to rain, and then it started to really rain, and we went through this mad scramble to move everything into this lovely indoor garden kind of space.
Yeah.
You know? And we're going to be talking about the Wise Woman Way, the Wise Woman Path of Healing. It's a very old traditional path. It's open to absolutely everybody. As Selena said in the intro, no uterus required.
Yep.
You don't have to have one of those to be walking the Wise Woman Way. It's a gentler, more personally responsible way to deal with your nutrition, with your health, and with what you need to be knowing to get through life. And it's actually such a universal path that we would be really hard pressed to tell you where the entire components came from across the world. We can narrow down a few specific ones, that we know, for instance, in the Mediterranean area, that was where chamomile first really came into its role as a healer, and that's where we got lavender as well. But throughout the world, we have plants that will help balance the immune system like chamomile does. And we have plants that will help purify water and make for good lotions like lavender does. So the Wise Woman tradition is completely global, and that makes it wonderful. It's open to everybody. Nobody can be excluded from the Wise Woman path of healing or of dealing with your life in general.
I love that. I remember when we first met, it must have been honestly like 13 years ago now. There you are, my dear.
Yeah, about that.
We were actually at a seed swap, and I was there with Oma Melita, who some of you heard about last show. And we were there to get some seeds. I had just moved to the region. Oma was still pretty with it considering. Yeah. And you sat down and told us the craziest stuff about genetically modified foods, which I had no idea. the importance of choosing organic than otherwise, and the importance of having food sovereignty and having food security. And really, like, once you can secure your food, you can't really be controlled.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was life-changing. I remember I went home and I cried because I was like, what the fuck do you mean there's pesticides on all my food? Like, oh my God. But it set me on a whole new trajectory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that, you know, in North American culture, we are so removed from our, from our food, from our medicine, from looking after ourselves. Sometime in the latter half of the 20th century, we decided as a culture in North America that outsourcing was the way to go, that somebody else could fix our cars, somebody else could make our meals, somebody else could make our clothing, somebody else could look after our children, somebody else could educate our children, somebody else could grow our food, somebody else could cook our food. And whenever you outsource, one, you pay. Okay, there's a financial cost attached to outsourcing. But what a lot of people don't realize is you pay in another whole way too, and that is that you disconnect. And if you disconnect from your food, it's very, very easy to not have to take any responsibility for it. And for me, one of the first big ones was vegetarianism. Okay, you're going to eat meat, it means an animal's going to die for you to have your meal. If you're going to do that, then you have to confront that as far as I'm concerned. It means going into the grocery store and picking up a package of meat that isn't even named the animal that we would call the animal is about one of the biggest disconnects you can get from food as far as I'm concerned.
And I will also precurse this with, like, you and I are both not vegetarians.
No,
we both eat meat.
Yeah, I do eat meat. I don't eat factory raised meat.
Yeah.
I don't go into a commercial endeavor to buy my meat. But if you're not willing to confront the fact that this is a living being that you're eating, then you're not ready to eat meat. You know, and we do bizarre things with it here in North America. We call it a cow when it's out in the field. We call it beef when we put it on the plate. We call it a pig when it's out in the field. We call it pork or ham or bacon when we put it on a plate. And it's like we don't want to confront what we're actually doing. And for me, to eat meat means I want that animal to be raised ethically. I want it to be looked after well while it's growing. I want it to eat the kind of food that I would be comfortable myself with eating. I want it to have a good, stress-free life. And I want it to be dispatched as quickly as possible with the least amount of stress as possible so that, you know, the meat is not tainted with fear. With, you know, like the concept of loading animals into a truck to travel them for a day and a half before you put them into a great big pen that smells like death and they have to live there till something, you know. To me, that is such a traumatic thing to do. I give thanks for every time, you know, and I have a lot of people who live very close to the land in my life, and they do not take the taking of a life of an animal lightly. So every bit of it is used. The hide is used, the bones are used, the meat is used, and nothing goes to waste. So, you know, for me, eating meat on the wise woman path means confronting that in its entire responsibility and not shunning away from the less pleasant parts of it. However, nobody says you have to eat meat.
No. That's interesting. I remember one of the other things that you taught me years ago was, you know, the wise woman's path really is this path where you're learning how to take care of yourself first. And when you learn how to take care of yourself and your needs and you're in a state of health, then you can teach that to your family members, your friends, and you can share that then with your larger community. So through being the wise woman first, you're able to then affect that much more of like the greater whole, you know, because you can't preach health if you're not coming from a healthy place.
No. So that parent that is rubbing the vapor rub on their child's back and chest, that's getting them in that warm bathtub, that's using those time-worn traditions that they know are going to work, that person's actually walking the wise woman path. They're taking the knowledge of what worked for them, what works with their body, what makes them feel good. They're applying that to their child, to their family member. They're bringing that person into a feeling of safety and being cared for at the same time that they're dealing with the health of that person. And when you do that and it grows slowly, it becomes much more organic and much more solid. And each person's path on the wise woman path is going to be slightly different for that exact reason.
I appreciate that. So it's not this like one size fits all approach. This is how you do life. It really does come down to the individual, how they feel about themselves.
And it's what makes it accessible for everybody. Because if you think that in order for you to be a healer, you have to go to university and become a doctor, or you have to become a naturopath, or you have to take herbalism courses, or you have to have a piece of paper. And that kind of brings me to what I see as the various paths to healing. And, we have kind of three major paths to healing. We have what I call the heroic path, we have the scientific path, and we have the wise woman path. Now, with the heroic path, this is all about the healer, all about the Messiah. In the childbirth world in the 70s, there was a doctor in France called Michel Audin. And the Michel Audin version of giving birth became huge. And the Michel himself would support the women in labor. He'd massage their back. He'd have them standing up. It would be watching this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful dance. But one part of my brain kept saying, shouldn't that be that woman's partner in that dance? Shouldn't that person doing that dance to bring that baby into the world, shouldn't that be the other person most connected to that baby? Why are we doing it with a doctor? Why are we attaching all this wonderful knowledge about standing up, about being physically stroked, feeling loved, feeling supported? All of those are very, very important. So why do we attach it to Michel Audin? We don't need a savior to be healed. We don't need a hero to be healed. We heal ourselves. We learn what our body's needs are, how to respond to that, how to bring it out. And so anytime you have like the heroic healer, whether it's the bring this person to the altar and I will pray over them and they'll be healed, or I am the only doctor who knows this method, you've got this heroic savior image, and it means you're taking all of your power and saying to this person, here, it's all yours, you take care of it.
Exactly.
Now, that's unfair on two levels. One, that's only one person. I can carry my healing, Selena can carry her healing. I can help her a little bit with hers. She can help me a little bit with mine. But if I'm going to carry Selena and Carol and Kathy and Charles and Jonathan and William, I'm going to collapse.
Yeah. And then you won't be helpful to anybody, especially yourself.
Yeah.
Because caregiver burnout is real.
Is very real.
Yeah.
And when you look at the burnout rate and the suicide rate in doctors and people who take on huge responsibility for other people, it's not a pretty scenario. So the heroic method of healing and approaching that is unfair on both sides. And again, it disempowers the person who is, you can be given all the medicine in the world. If you're not going to eat good food and go on that walk and have a good frame of mind, you're not going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes down to you anyway. And then we have the scientific method of healing, where it's all about the process, just trust in the process, follow the process. And in the 70s, I read a book by Robert Mendelsohn called Confessions of a Medical Heretic, where he, as a doctor, referred to hospitals as temples of doom and doctors as high priests of death. And I was like, what?
Even right now, like, holy shit.
What? But then he started really showing how the system, like all systems, has become about keeping itself going.
Yeah.
That a hospital actually cares more about its bottom line and the schedule of the people than about you getting better.
So I will say too, like, I feel like the staff on that part, like, they're committed to the person, but the system that they're operating in is designed. Like, to have 15 minutes to, like, when we had caregivers that would come in that were used to what is normally happening, where they've got 15 minutes to change a resident, they have to get them down to breakfast.
When we saw somebody with a broken hip sit 3.5 hours in a wheelchair after she had requested lying down because there was shift change to do and we needed 2 people to do that lift and we couldn't do 2 people until we got this done and this done and this done and this done, which meant this 3.5 hour wait worsened the condition of the person waiting. Now, not a single nurse on that ward was mean. Not a single nurse on that ward was uncaring, but they were bound to this system, to this schedule, to the rules, and again, you're giving your power over to a system. And so in the wise woman tradition, we look at healing as sort of an 8-step potential path. And you don't necessarily take all 8 steps, but there's 8. But the first one doesn't get a number, so we call it the 7 steps to healing. Because the very first one.
Ben's calling your man. Oh, are we back? Let's see. Oh, yeah, there we are. Okay.
So, although we call it the 7 steps to healing, there's actually 8. But the first one doesn't get a numeric value because it's 0. And so the very first step is to do nothing. You're feeling ill. You feel a headache coming on. You're feeling a bit nauseated. You hurt yourself somehow. The very first step is to just stop. Don't do anything. Don't just stop. Rest. That in and of itself might solve it. Okay. Very, very simple first step. Do nothing. Now, the second step is to tune in to what's really happening. Okay, I stubbed that toe and it really hurts, but I didn't break it. Okay. No, I'm not actually having a heart attack. I think I'm having a really bad heartburn episode here. I'm having a hard time getting my breath in. So the second step is to just take stock, see what's actually going on here. The third step is to do some research. Now, research is everything from, I'm going to take my temperature, I'm going to test my heart rate, I'm going to take my pulse, I'm going to check my blood pressure, everything from that right up to, excuse me, I have to look this up. I have to find out more. So all of those are research. Taking your temperature is research. Oh, I've got a fever. Okay, now I know what to do.
It's like gathering information.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at step 3, and all we've really done is gotten to the point where we're actually gathering information. And interestingly enough, because you're paying attention to your body and what's going on, often that in and of itself will solve so much. I'm tired. I've got a headache. I haven't had anything to drink all day. I'm dehydrated and I'm exhausted. I just need to go and rest. And problem solved. But sometimes you need to go a little bit further. And so the next step, I've got a real legitimate illness going on here. There is something seriously amiss. My body needs help. Food.
Yeah.
And water. Food and liquid. What are you taking into your body? You've got to take the ingredients in to help your body build. Okay, so that's that big step. Okay, now,
Sorry, guys. Phone's going off.
okay, so we've got do nothing, tune in, do research. Food is your biggest healer. Food is an essential healer. It is part of your healing process. Okay, so make sure you're eating according to what you need. Make sure you're drinking according to what you need. Sometimes that is not enough. So now we go to herbs, low-level vitamins, things that, maybe I'll do some vitamin C, maybe I'll make myself a cup of chamomile tea. I think some mint would settle my stomach, so you're now actively reaching for specific things that you can help give your body to help it get on with the healing. Now, the next step is going to be things like heavy-duty vitamin supplements, and lower level medications. So this is where you get into like mega vitamin therapy.
Like IV therapy.
Yeah, I'm not going to just take vitamin C. I'm going to do 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every hour until I've got this beat. Maybe I'm going to need to take vitamin B shots to get this vitamin B's up in my body. Maybe I need an iron shot. So you're using natural health kind of supplements, natural compounds, and that, but you're using them in a rather extreme measure. Beyond that is now where we get into actual drugs and medications. So this is where you would see chemotherapy, long-term medications. Now you'll notice that at no point am I saying don't do this. Okay, this is a progression. Mm-hmm. So, you're working your way through. Now, step 8 is what we call break and enter. Yeah. Okay, this is intervention, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, doing something actually to the body which looks and can feel very, very, very harmful. If somebody said to you, well, I'm going to just cut you open right here and go in and take a chunk of your body out, I'd be, no, you're not. But that's what happened to me when my gallbladder exploded on me, when I got an inflamed gallbladder, and what looked to be a perfectly normal, healthy gallbladder all of a sudden was swelling up and going septic, and there was no way to cure it. There was no way to treat it. There was no way to get it. The only thing to be done was to take it out of my body before it literally exploded and flooded my body with infection. So surgery. And I have had a life-saving surgery in my gallbladder, and I have had back surgery, which improved and gave me back my mobility. So walking the wise woman path and taking a more natural, proactive, personal approach to your healing does not mean you close the door on medical advances and medical technology and things that we know. It means you approach it when it is the best alternative for that particular ailment. So you don't run in and get tonsils and adenoids removed in case your kid gets a sore throat.
Right.
Okay? You don't run off and have a hysterectomy or a cesarean section because you don't maybe want to injure yourself in birth. No, the final episode of healing, that step 8 of healing, of break and enter, that's the miracle of our modern world. That is what saves lives. Cesarean sections save lives. We don't need to be necessarily doing them at the rate that we're doing them in North America right now, because we tend to interfere with the birth process.
Well, that's part of like the system of what you're talking about, right? The hero, the system.
Yeah. And so, that's basically the wise woman path is first learn to look after yourself. Then expand your circle to looking after those you know well, whose problems you know and you understand. Then it expands. Now, in the older wise woman tradition, where you had an actual village wise woman, That person never appointed themselves as wise woman. Hi, I'm your new village wise woman. I'm the resident witch. I've just moved in and I'm going to like take over and witchify all of you into magical health.
No.
No.
It's not like the movies that also give us the hero complex.
No. The wise women in a village scenario were the women who had lived long enough and had learned enough that they were not only trusted with the health of their family, but of their extended family and the people around them. Now, in a lot of cases, those women were single. And the beauty of being a single woman in that kind of a scenario is you can be all night at the side of a laboring woman, and your own children are not at home missing you. You can up stakes and take your kitty cat with you and go and live with somebody who needs 6 weeks of nursing while they lay in bed and their leg heals. Because before we found out how to do casts for a leg to heal, you had to have people willing to keep you alive for 4 to 6 weeks while you laid in a bed.
It was one of the first signs I heard of civilization.
Yeah, Margaret Mead.
Yes, that is
the very first sign of a civilized society, and that was a healed femur. And when you think about that, yeah, an animal that breaks a leg dies.
Yeah.
You know, so the village wise women, they came very slowly to their information, but they built it very, very, very solidly. Mm-hmm. And cannabis has always been a huge part of the wise woman path. You can grow this medicine yourself. You can make the salves you need. You can make the tinctures you need. You can make the oral medications that you need. This is one of the most magical plants that you can possibly think of growing and having, and the methods and ways that you can use it. Use every bit of it. Juice that baby plant, that little boy plant that you don't want to grow up to get pollen all over your girls. Throw them in your smoothies, those seeds that produce, eat them. They're really, really good for you. Get that oil, use it, eat those hemp hearts. There's some real benefit to whole medicines when you involve yourself with the whole plant. And realize that cannabis is not the only medicinal plant you can grow for yourself. If you have need for chamomile, your own is going to do you so much better.
Oh, yeah. I know. Like over the last, several years, I've been putting in a little bit here and there of new medicinal herbs. So that way then at some point I do have everything that I need on the property.
And that's such a beautiful way to approach it. If you grow 2 new plants every year in a decade, you will know very intimately 20 plants.
Yeah.
Yeah. 20 plants is a pretty broad spectrum of healers.
I'm learning. Yeah. I'm taking a herbalism course right now, so I'm
Isn't
learning.
that wonderful?
It's so empowering to see all these beings grow in your garden and get to know them and then sit with them and then listen and hear what they have to say and share, and they kind of just like, this too.
And that's the thing about the wise woman path too, is the first step takes you almost no time at all. Learning how to look after yourself is a very easy first step. And you go so slowly that it never feels like you got to learn it all now. It never feels like you're an idiot because you don't know. It just feels like every step of the way you're adding new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to check in. I just wanted to check in with you guys. Obviously, we're having another toke, so please join us. And for those of you who are just learning about the Wise Women path for the first time, what are some ways that you can, I guess, begin to cultivate it into your own life? Like I know for even myself, like we're about to dip into, the fall season. I'm mindful that I do take my vitamins and I do eat well. Hydration is always something that can always improve, I think, for most people. But You know, the
use it,
IV
yeah.
therapy, it sounds like it's something that I do usually seasonally,
Yeah.
just to kind of top things up.
And us northern dwellers, we do better if we take some vitamin D.
Yeah.
I'm not huge on supplements. I think we can get most of what we need out of good quality food. That doesn't mean I think you can walk into Walmart and buy, their canned food and it's going to meet your standards. No.
And also, when you start to grow your own food and make it yourself, like you can actually produce that same product or very similar with more nutrition for like a fraction of the
Fraction
cost.
of the cost. And so much of that's shipped around the world is picked green and shipped so that it will put up with the hassles and problems of shipping. But really, like your diet should meet so much of your needs, but there's times when you don't. And so, vitamin D is crucial to good health. You're having a really sick time over the winter and you're getting lots of bugs, ramp up that vitamin C. Remember, Linus Pauling, who wrote Vitamin C and the Common Cold, has won 2 Nobel Prizes, one for chemistry, one for physics. The man knows how to do a controlled study. And when he released Vitamin C and the Common Cold, people could not accept the fact that he was talking about taking 5 to 20 grams of vitamin C a day to deal with things like cancer, with arthritis. And, the word on the street when he came out with that is, oh, well, you take that much vitamin C, you're just peeing it out and you just makes you a really expensive urine. It doesn't do a thing for you. And his whole response to that was, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to flood your body with vitamin C so much that you are literally urinating out vitamin C, and that way your body can use that to heal. Now, obviously, you don't need to do that if you're a healthy person, but if you're fighting cancer,
Can be very
it
helpful.
can be very helpful. So,
Absolutely.
vitamins are something that I think, given the different environmental stresses and the lacks in our diet, source them carefully, get them from a good source, but don't hesitate to take a vitamin D or a vitamin C, get your B vitamins to make sure that, things are going well. If your diet's not getting you covered, please take supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much that I wanted to chat with you about. I mean, we had, just so you guys know, me and Sarah have been hanging out all day. We had the most epic visit with a friend in the community where you literally made your own buffalo hide drum.
Yes.
With the guidance of this incredible elder.
Selena and I went today to take a little bit of a trip and take some medicine to a man who's very, very ill, a very gentle, loving person. And he welcomed us, he and his wife not only welcomed us into their house, he helped, wanted to gift me with a drum. And
he was adamant that he gifted her with this drum.
And
it must happen.
It must happen. And I really, even yet, am not 100% sure why he felt he needed to give me with this drum. But I was very, very touched that it was a handmade drum, that the hide we were going to be using was buffalo, which has particular significance to me. So it was all wonderful. And as for stretching the hide and putting it together, he informs Selena and I and his family that this is his last drum. He will not be making another drum ever.
And he's made thousands.
So he gifted me this drum, and then he gave Selena and I the drum form, the last little bit of hide, and the sinew to take it out of his house. Whether we make a drum with it or not is our business, but he wanted to make sure that the drum he gifted me was the last drum he ever made. And I think I'm still kind of incorporating
I'm in
that.
awe.
Yeah.
Honestly, as it was unfolding in front of me, I was just in awe. And he's passing Sarah the sinew cord to bind the drum and showing her these different knotting techniques with his beautiful, like his family is just so lovely. His incredible family all around us. It was it's been surreal. Thanks for chilling.
Yeah, it was the most exquisite experience, you know. And that's what I love about the wise woman path is like we didn't arrive there as the great and wonderful gurus. We came as a couple of friends bringing some much needed medicines and gifts for this person on their healing journey. And we in turn were gifted with beautiful things for our healing journey.
It's
Smudge wands and
everybody's benefiting.
yeah.
I don't know, it's pretty surreal. And oh my goodness, their garden, they have so many healing medicinal plants in their garden that are just vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Selena and I figure we need to do this a couple more times. That
We do.
maybe the wise woman path can't all be covered in one time.
Probably not, but I'm glad that we got started. And do you have a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Because what I'd really love to, couple things. Would you share with us how you and cannabis got acquainted, and maybe the little story about Mount Ida?
Yeah, I will. I grew up here in the central part of BC in the late 60s. I was in my teens. It was the Vietnam War era. There were draft dodgers coming up across. There were hippie communes being built up on the mountains, and junior high school kids that didn't necessarily like getting drunk discovered marijuana. And now, it was nothing to write home about. Okay. When I compare it to what we smoke now, okay, it was like mostly leaf. And but we smoked it and we toked it. And my family owned a piece of property outside of Salmon Arm, and we had water rights on a creek that we had to pay for and we had to maintain. And there was 4 families that had water rights on this creek, and it was always like all summer long we had to be very careful about irrigation and household water and water for livestock. But above us on the creek, with absolutely no cost, no putting money in, nothing, was where they took the water out to irrigate, to water the cemetery, which,
Yeah.
yeah, we're
We
gonna
live in a desert.
yeah, and you're gonna water graves, like dead people.
They need that nice cut grass. I get it.
Yeah, so we used to go up horseback riding up above up the gravel roads and that, and we used to have to go up and service our water box and change the screens and that. So we found out where the cemetery water box was, and our first few attempts of mucking with them was we'd go up and we'd shut it off, and then they couldn't water, and we'd have lots of water, but it would, and then so we got bawled out for that. Our parents finally figured out we were doing it, and we were told we couldn't do it anymore. And then I turned about 17 and I started growing marijuana, and I found a lovely little hillside, lots of southern exposure, really difficult to get to. Nobody was going to see it. And it was in relative proximity to one part of the irrigation line to the cemetery. I was a farm kid. We had an irrigation system. I knew how this worked. I set up an irrigation system for my illegal cannabis thing. And it was like this double duty of complete civil disobedience. One, I'm growing a completely illegal plant and thumbing my nose at the universe in that way. 2, I'm choosing to get high in a way that isn't alcohol in a pretty redneck community at that time. And 3, I'm stealing the water from the cemetery.
You're so badass.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I was 17 when I grew that crop. I was probably 15 when I smoked my first joint. I'm 66. I've been at this for half a century.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Can I ask, what's one of your favorite cultivars?
I have MS, so I have this broad range of what I need from cannabis. Sometimes I need to be up and doing things, but out of pain.
Mhm.
And that's when I find the hazes are really nice. That's when I find those citrusy ones with the terpenes that are all up there, and the limonese, those upper citrusy notes. I find that's really, really, really good. But when I'm needing to get, more relaxation, a deeper penetration into the pain and that, I go more into the heavier indicas, like a purple kush would be really nice. God is one of my favorites. I like to see God on a regular basis. I'm willing to help God grow in my own garden.
I have your God cured downstairs.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure that we have some road DBs
Yeah,
and we
that would
have
be
some
awesome.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I like to eat it. I don't like to just toke. I find I need I need all the components of it. So eating it's good. Really super helps me get to sleep. And I find that if I'm having like an anxiety or a high tense day, I need something with a lot of caryophyllene in it. That's that sort of peppery smell that you get with some pot. Like myrcene is good too for me. Myrcene's a good pain inhibitor.
Mm.
The myrcene is that kind of mustyish smell that some of your pot gets, that kind of skunky edge, and then you'll get like that deeper kind of coffee or peppery kind of smell. That's the caryophyllene, and that's really good for knocking out anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
It's really good for that.
And I'll say for myself with anxiety, I find if I have too much of the lemon,
Yeah.
it'll be too much. So too much of the limonene. So
Yeah.
something for me with like more of like a lavender, like a lanol, just kind of
Yeah.
gives me some
The
ease.
linalool, it's good. Yeah. So it's good to kind of get to know all of those various things too. It's
Important.
It truly is.
I'm curious too. You've been growing cannabis for a really long time. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about your relationship with her and how you learned to work with her and maybe like some experiences? I know it's a big question. There's probably so many.
Well, some like I one of my particular bugbears is hearing people refer to cannabis as a strain, because bacteria grows in strains. Plants are cultivars. They are varieties. They are varietals. If a plant only grows in one tiny little area particular to that soil, it's a land race. Okay. The word strain is bacteria related. I guess people initially felt that that was like indicating that it was medicinal because we were talking about it being in a particular strain. But it just sets my teeth on edge because it's like not a plant word.
So what's the proper plant word for you?
Cultivar.
Yeah.
So I like for indoor cultivars, I'm very fond of God. I really like the whiter ones. The White Widow's a nice one. For outdoor, some of the crazier ones that are so hard to do indoors are really, really nice, like Romulan grapefruit cross. It gets huge and it takes like 8 to 10 weeks. So it can really mess a room, it can really make it hard to do a room because it's out of sync with everything else. So it's a great outdoor, especially if you can do a blackout greenhouse and give it that clearly defined 12-12. But because it's a longer species, a longer cultivar, it takes longer to get there. I often find it's just starting to come on now, and it'll set all of its bud right about now. When the daytime and like nighttime are getting pretty close to equal. The equinox is just around the corner.
Yeah.
And I've often pulled some of my best outdoor in on the Thanksgiving weekend.
How do you overcome, botrytis or mold issues or just like because it gets cold and wet here?
And that sometimes means you're pulling your crop.
Right.
Okay, and so you've got to take that chance,
Yeah,
you know, like
I
you
have.
got to be aware
And
of
some
that.
years I'm like, okay, I guess it's to the
I'm
birds.
not averse to hooking up fans if I need to, and they're close enough to electricity. The other thing that I do is I go out, and any time that it's been a heavy dew or there's been rainfall, I go out and I shake
Me
my
too.
plants.
Every single one. And we just
Every
go
one of
dance.
them, shake them, shake them, shake
Yeah.
them, shake them, shake them, shake them, shake them, shake them. But it works,
Yeah.
you know, it works. Yeah. And don't plant them too close together. Make sure they've got room around them,
Mhm.
because like that's where you get the worst problems. And if you're doing a greenhouse, like yeah, you want to cram them in and make the use of that space. And but if you're outside,
Yeah.
let them go.
Yeah.
Give them lots of room.
Let them be wild and free.
Yep. Yep. Give them
Yeah.
lots and lots and lots of room.
I remember years ago you were sharing with me a couple of wise women hacks about how to keep your plants healthy with more like of a biodynamic situation,
Oh.
and other companion plants that
Yeah.
work really well with cannabis.
Yeah,
inside
I
and
don't
outside.
grow anything in isolation. Like almost everyone in my garden beds, I throw a couple of tomatoes in because they're my soil testers. They tell me what's going on in the soil. I like my flowers all through my garden so that the pollinators are all through my garden. My gardens have that English country garden look, which other people would define as a hodgepodge, and I'm okay with that.
It's beautiful.
It can be great to have a hodgepodge. And so when I grow cannabis, I don't grow cannabis in isolation of just cannabis. And a lot of the really tender aromatic herbs are fabulous around cannabis because the bugs will gravitate to them. The basil growing right beside the cannabis will attract the aphids and the thrips and the mites, and they won't get on your cannabis plants. And that mint over there will repel the ants and keep certain other things going.
I need to
And
plant a lot of mint in
yeah.
my yard. We're having a battle, but it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ants.
But you know what's doing that for me right now with my cannabis plants is the nettle.
Yeah.
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 So we found sticking nettle. That was the fun thing. My discovery in the last 2 weeks. We're out in the garden, and this normal prickly weed that Alba, my husband, would normally harvest, he went to go prickle it. He's like, "Ow!" He's like, "It's not just like prickles." He's like, "It's stung me. It's stinging." And I was like, "Oh my god!" So it's stinging nettle, which is perfect because I need that anyways.
Mhm.
And the aphids are being farmed there right now.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And they're leaving my plants alone, my cannabis plants. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I know that I was sharing too, like nasturtium, it repels spider mites. It's great. But oh, sorry guys, just hang on a second. Boop. We'll come back. There we go.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple of hacks. So I was talking about nasturtiums, how they repel spider mites, which is great.
Yeah, which is awesome.
But do you have any other hacks that you could share?
Praying mantises love any of your vine plants.
Yeah.
And praying mantises are a really good insect. They'll eat your other bugs. So anytime I find a praying mantis, I bring it over to my plants. If I've got like a semi-indoor outdoor, like a greenhouse or a room outside that I'm blacking out to, but it's mostly outside, I bring every spider I can into that space because
I love my spiders are starting to make little homes in the leaves.
Yeah, because spiders eat so many other things, and and I put up bat houses, to increase the bat population for my outdoor plants. And chamomile's a good one to grow with indoor things because it's so tender that the things that aren't even tempted to go to the basil will absolutely crawl all over your chamomile.
Okay.
And then you can just take the plant right out. Like lots of times in rooms, I will have I'll start a basil plant. I'll bring it in. I'll let it get completely mite infested. I'll take it out. I'll bring a new one in. And that way I'm taking the bugs right out of the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Can I ask, are there like any other like amendments or teas or things that you could put in with your soil to help to, prevent issues from getting out of control?
Two things that I use a lot in my plants, whether indoor, outdoor, is hydrogen peroxide in the water to increase the oxygen. Your part of your plant's root system's job is to take up oxygen. So that helps.
Okay.
And then Epsom salts. Okay. And it's a good soil amendment. And it really does help a lot with bug control. If I have to use something really heavy duty on bugs, I tend to go in the direction of sort of more biological warfare than chemical warfare. So I'll use something like diatomaceous earth, which is basically powdered prehistoric clamshell, seashell. And it's not poisonous, but it gets into the joints of the insects and cuts into their exoskeleton and kills them that way. So it's a biological warfare. Same with predator bugs like praying mantises and ladybugs and that. And probably the heavy dutiest thing I use is cinnamon oil on my soil. If I have, you don't want to get it on your plants. You really don't want to get the cinnamon oil on your plants. Okay, it's quite harsh. But it is the only thing I've encountered that kills spider mites and eggs and larvae right in the soil. So between if I'm reusing pots, I make sure I wash them, I rinse them with vinegar, and then before I put anything in them, they get a rinse that has some cinnamon in it, because cinnamaldehyde does a fabulous job.
Okay. How would you do you mind me asking, how would you mix it?
Oh, 1 part cinnamon oil to 25 parts water in a spray bottle.
Okay.
Yeah, simple.
Okay.
Just don't get it on your plants.
Not on your plants. And then what about animals? Because our kitties are around.
No,
sometimes.
it won't hurt them.
Okay.
It won't hurt them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just cinnamon oil, but it kills off mite eggs like nobody's business. The other thing that I'll sometimes use, and again, it's not toxic, is borax. Okay, so if I've got something that is like thrips are hard to get, they don't respond well to anything. So I'll mix a little bit of white sugar and borax and put it in a container on the edge of where the plant, like on maybe the edge of the plant pot, somewhere where it's interfacing with the soil so that they can get it in it. And they eat it and it kills them, but it won't do you any harm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's mildly corrosive if you get a lot of it on your skin, but
it's not going to hurt you.
People take microdoses of borax in a whole variety of treatments from,
Really?
Yeah.
Shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate you sharing that knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm curious, for people that are getting started or that have been doing this for a while, do you have any, I guess, parting words or any words of wisdom? You've shared so much with us already.
I think the primary thing is to just get started.
Yeah.
We have convinced ourselves that everything needs to be outsourced and the experts do a better job of all of it. Well, you probably cook as good a breakfast as you can get in any restaurant. You probably cook a better meat dinner than you can get in most restaurants. You probably don't have any problem growing a house plant. You know what? You probably won't have any problem growing a cannabis plant. And it's not rocket science. And, so just do it, get going on it. And the second thing is realize, like everything else, you're going to screw up.
Be willing to make mistakes and get back up again.
Yeah,
and keep going.
Yeah. And that's life is all trial and error. We try and convince ourselves that if we get the right piece of paper, if we learn the right thing, if we recite the right mantra, cast the right spell, however we frame it, we honestly, on some level, believe that we can control the outcome, but really we can't.
So be kind of open to whatever happens.
So, get some seeds, get a clone. If you get some seeds, plant twice as many as you think you're going to need, because some of them are going to be boys.
Yeah.
And some of them are going to be dinks. And some of them aren't going to be very good. Like they are seeds. You will get a variety, but just start. It's only a plant. When we were arguing for legalization, and I'm still arguing it for complete decriminalization of it,
Yeah.
it's only a plant.
And it's like the most amazing plant.
Yeah, but it's only a plant. It grows from a seed or from a cutting.
Yeah.
It grows, it lives, you can harvest it. The better you treat it, the better it'll be. It's a plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get growing.
Yeah, get growing. Get yourself some cannabis and learn to love it.
Yes. Yes. So I just want to check in with everybody. Nice. Oh, Canada Mama, I feel you. The seed situation in BC is crazy. So I also, with Flower of Life Clinic, we work with Health Canada licensed producers, and there's a list on the website where you can get your starting materials.
Yep.
I can't find starting materials. There's no seeds to be had. There's no clones to be shipped. Yep. And from what the sense I'm getting is it comes down to proprietary information.
Yep.
But they haven't updated their website. So Canna Mama, I'm so sorry.
And I have a little business called Wise Woman Seeds.
Yes.
And primarily we sell heritage vegetables and herbs for the garden. But I also have a cannabis selection. I just don't splash it all over my Facebook page. And but if you get in touch with me on my Facebook page of Wise Woman Seeds, I can hook you up with about a dozen different varieties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like literally, I just finished the God downstairs, and we had some today, and it was so delicious. Yes, yes. So those were from Sarah from a couple of years ago, and I don't know. I feel like both of us, we have the opinion where it's like this. You should not be able to patent this seed, like nature. Like food is food. Like this is our intrinsic right to have food, to have shelter, to have our basic needs met. So.
Yeah, and if anybody out there knows, where I can get Buddha bud, please
find Sarah some Buddha bud, please.
I love that plant.
Yeah. Okay. So the call is out there. I did want to take a few minutes and just do a breath with everybody, and I usually would go more into a meditation, but I feel like today was really all about understanding the wise woman's path. So going into meditation, is there anything that you can share with us about the relationship with cannabis and yourself as a wise person, as a wise woman, and those being married together?
Well, just realize that this plant's your friend.
Yeah.
This particular plant has a history of absolute harmlessness.
Yeah. And so much good.
Yeah.
She has done so good for humanity.
Yeah. Just so I just focus on loving and understanding this particular plant, because she's a winner.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And she loves you so much. So I just want to invite everyone that's here with us. I'm gonna have you have a bud too, as I'd really love for you to take a moment and just really appreciate this incredible being here in front of you, Cannabis. We've learned a lot in this last hour and a bit, so thank you. And there's something so special about looking at her. All her sparkles. She's so sparkly.
Indeed.
Show me a plant that sparkles like this. And she smells so beautiful. And she stays with you, She's so resinous. So I want to invite you, if you have been imbibing with us along the way, if you want to smoke some or have a dab or have some tincture or put some topical on some cream or take a capsule or eat that brownie or whatever that looks like for you, I am inviting you to please do that with us. And I'm going to enjoy smelling this flower because this is so lovely.
Me too. I'm just loving it.
So this is that silver haze. I'll just show you. Again, I'm learning. I'm just learning. Can I do this? Well, anyways, this is our little super silver haze goddess friend. And I just want to invite everybody to get comfortable. If you need to move a bit, move a bit. If you want to like just kind of ease into your body, I want to invite you to do that now. We're going to have just a nice wise woman meditation. So, this first step of like resting, I really just want to invite you to rest with her. And just really begin to notice and bring your awareness to her. Show her your appreciation.
Yeah, engage the energy.
Yeah. And really bring your senses into your experience with her. She's food, she's medicine. She's a gorgeous blooming flower. And I have to say, I feel like when we begin to engage in our life and we see things as precious and we, yeah, she's just a plant, but she's like an amazing plant, just like all the plants, just like smelling that fresh aroma leaf, and the tomatoes or, that fresh carrot from your garden or, like the chives or the garlic or all of these gifts from Gaia. So thank you, Gaia.
Yeah, indeed. Cook some.
And as we appreciate and examine and get curious, we open ourselves, feel that pure essence of yourself, that one that is just so vibrant and bright, that is just pure love. Because really, I believe at all of our cores, we are pure love. And just get curious and adventurous. And notice. Notice how much she loves you and how she is love. And in the space of appreciation, just know that she is an ally. She's your friend. And as you walk your wise woman path, she's there with you, walking with you, guiding you, delighting down the path with you. Always learning, always growing, cycle after cycle, together. And as we go down this path, I invite you, if you haven't already, to close your eyes for a moment. And imagine yourself with her moving down this path, working together, helping each other grow. Friends, lifelong friends, lifetime after lifetime, cycle beyond cycle, beyond everything. Your cosmic sister dancing with you. She gives the gift of knowingness. She helps us trust our intuition so we can hear the plants, so we can see the path. She gifts us with knowingness of who we are, what we need, and how to make that real through our thoughts, through our words, through our actions. How to make the back rub, how to make the tincture, how to harvest her flowers at the opportune time, how to grind her roots, how to work with her to benefit both of you. She gets to enjoy her life with you, and you get to enjoy life with her. In you, in yourselves, with you, out into the world. So as you walk your wise woman path, I invite you to call on cannabis. One of your most sacred and beloved friends. She is with you. She has a message for you.
Just let Lady Cannabis waltz through your life. She just wants to dance with you.
Oh yeah. So good. So as we continue to walk this wise woman's path, I want to invite you to have so much fun and to share what you learn and enjoy getting to know yourself better along the way. It's good weed. It's really good. She's lovely.
Yep.
So, do you have any parting words for us?
Trust yourselves. Trust your intuition. Trust your body. Pay attention to what you have to tell yourself and tune in. Just like we all have intuition. We all have the wise woman path within us. And that first big step is to just trust who you are and what you know about yourself. Your information is as valid as anybody else's. And when it comes to you, it's probably more valid than anybody else's. Yeah.
I so appreciate that.
Yeah.
So with you in trust, we'll see you guys again. And last but not least, I forgot to do this last time. Sorry, this is so new for me. I want to invite you, if you want to connect with us, you can check out Sarah, like she was saying, on Facebook at Wise Woman Seeds. There's a phone number there. If you want to give her a call, you can hit her up in the chat. That's where you can find Sarah. And then if you're looking for Flower of Life, on Instagram, I've got a few tags, but if you look for Flower of Life Show, you can also find me, Selena Sativa, on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook. But to be honest, I think I'm like gonna take a break. Life has been crazy. So hit me up on Instagram, or you can check out my website, floweroflifecannabis.com. Yeah, and we'll definitely have you back. So thank you for joining us. And thank you all for joining us. And I'm really looking forward to chatting with you soon. One thing I will say is we didn't even get into it. There is a whole component to cannabis gardening that's astrological.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that next time. In the meantime, literally every day on Facebook, Sarah updates do you want to explain what this is?
Yeah, every day on the Wise Woman Seeds page in the Wise Woman group, page on Facebook, I give you the moon placement for the day, where it is, what house it's moving through, and what that means biodynamically as well as astrologically. And that's for people who want to garden by the moon or go the whole 9 yards and do biodynamic gardening as laid out by Rudolf Steiner. So yeah, it's important information. It's interesting.
I personally love it, like for two reasons. One, my garden grows better. I feel that for sure. And then two, because anxiety is like a thing where I'm trying to like figure out the best thing to do at any given time. It really just helps me clear that clutter because I'm like, okay, it's a root day. Great. Plant some seeds for roots. On that note,
Yeah.
we're coming up to the full moon.
Yeah.
And I know that planting seeds near or on the full moon, it's actually one of the best times because it's best absorption of water.
Yeah. So right now we're in the second quarter. We're coming up to the full moon. This is a really good time to get things in the ground for fall harvest. So, like if you live in an area where, like here, we can plant things like broccoli and cauliflower and peas and radishes to harvest in the fall. This is a really good time to do it. As soon as the moon goes full on Tuesday, the week following that is a really, really good time to be putting root things into the ground. Okay, so like you want to get your garlic into the ground because it's a fall planting thing that you're going to
So now's the
next
time.
year. You
Yes!
can, and
I always miss it, so I'm so excited.
and then it's also a good time this time, and then again in October where we are, we can do it in October too because it won't be too cold yet. It's also between the full moon and that third quarter is a really good time to get your fruit trees, your shrubs, things like that in the ground. A lot of stuff is better planted in the fall and allowed to grow up. And if you've got big perennials that you have that big patch of yarrow, that huge clump of daisies, those perennials that you want to split up, try and do it in the fall rather than the spring because they're going into dormancy and they're not going to mind being dug up and cut up and that because they're dormant. And they'll wake up in their new beds in the spring and just kind of go, oh God, look at all the room I got, like I'm good to go. So yeah, it's a good time to do things.
I'm so excited. Okay, so now's the time. So please enjoy your garden for the next 2 weeks. We'll probably see you again. I know for sure I'll see you again in 2 weeks on the new moon or around the new moon on Sunday. And I'm going to hang out in the chats for a little bit after. I know that Marcus has been amazing. He's having some time. Oh, there you are. There you are. He's had some time with the sun tonight. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know you're waiting to like hit the button. So thank you guys so much for being here. Marcus, thank you so much again for allowing us to share on your platform from the heart. And I'm so glad everybody got to meet you. Yeah. This has been so good.
Thanks. This was wonderful. I had a great time.
Me too. I learned a lot, as always. So we will definitely see you guys again and have an incredible night. We'll chat with you in the chat if you're live right now. So talk to you soon. Bye.